Okay, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Pro and the Vidz, and welcome back to another episode of the Ankle Breaker podcast, episode 49. So, 49 means that we're nearly at 50 podcasts in, so nearly 50 episodes in. I promise that that's going to be a big show ahead, no doubt about that. So, stay tuned for a big show next Monday. But again, joining me is regular co-host All Out Champa. Now, it's soon to be something else, and Champa can sort of go through that if he likes to. But, bro, how are you? And thanks again for joining the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Proenza. Yes, the name is still All Out Champa, but in the coming times, I'm changing the channel name. Sorry, I'm changing the channel name to the All Out section. Reason
No.
being, I'm gonna have probably just the channel name be called the All Out section. I'll keep the name All Out Champa, but sort of a different direction with how the channel's going. Everything's still gonna be the same. It's just with a new fresh coat of paint. So everything's still
Like
good.
it.
We're still doing YouTubing, and guys, I'm in for a big year, so make sure you stay tuned to that. Tuned for that. Still All Out Champa, a part of the All Out section.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Like, seeing how you're making that sort of approach to your channel and making things better, it's exciting to see. And I'm sure everyone that does watch your channel will be looking forward to seeing how it all goes. So please be sure to check him out if you haven't already. Check out All At Champa. His YouTube is linked in the description down below, so go and check him out if you haven't already. But look, without further ado, it is the trial match review. So obviously we will be talking about, how we thought NRL trials for this year went. And it was good to see just some trials that were consistent, because the last couple of years, either some have been postponed because of COVID, some have just been called off for one random reason. But I think this year was a bit of a success, I guess, with how all the games happened and how it all got played. But I think the one or the most controversial thing out of everything that did sort of happen with this trial match season, or for 2023 trials, is that it's actually called a pre-season challenge. So I don't know how many people like it or dislike it. Personally, for me, I know it's easy for me to say if I like it because we won the $100,000, obviously. But I think for some people it's confusing because you need a particular amount of passes, offloads, tries to be able to win this money, which we did. But I think it's a whole different sort of different sort of rules, and I think it's hard for everyone. So, Champ, I'll just ask you quickly: what did you make of this preseason challenge idea? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Like, what's your main thoughts on it?
I actually think it was. I actually think it was quite good. Actually, I actually liked the preseason trial. The games were very entertaining. Some were close. Some were a bit of a thrashing. But you're always going to have those kinds of games. And I think the prize of $100,000 really makes it not only entertaining to watch to see teams try and get that $100,000, but also it's for the teams to not take the trials too easily, but to actually put in some effort. Even though it's not actual season games, they're still showing that that they're putting in effort. And look, $100,000, that helps with the team. That helps the team in any way, shape, or form. So
No.
I think it's very good. I think it's something that the NRL should continue. And well, look, we even had St. Helens in the mix of all things. So
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
complaining. And we will get
yeah.
to St. Helens soon.
Oh, we will. We will. So yeah, look, obviously it's a mixed opinion, I guess, with how this preseason challenge is to everyone. But yeah, I agree. I don't mind it. I mean, like I know I get we won it, but just in general, like the whole idea wasn't big on it at first. But I guess it's a different sort of thing that the NRL will take. So I don't know if it's gonna be like happening next year or the years after. We'll see. But I don't mind it, I guess. Now I do want to say hello to everyone in the live chat because there is a good crowd building up. Actually, just realised. So I will say hello to everyone that is watching as of now. So Warriors NRL Fanatics in the chat. Hello Fanatics, how are ya? Damien from Newcastle, and you know what? Shout out to Damien from Newcastle as well. I met him on Saturday at the Panthers and St Helens game. Top bloke and a really nice guy to meet. So big shout out to Damo there. Jason Reeder, hello. CJ Moxley also was with CJ at the Penrith and Saints game and was with him across the whole weekend. So it was great to see you again, brother. And Nick from Australia, or Nick, of course, had a great weekend with him as well. It was good to see him and Josh always with the Broncos at the same time. It was a great weekend just with them in general, and yeah, it's a memory for life, that sort of stuff. So it was great to be with all the lads. But look, it's obviously a great sort of turnout here tonight. I mean, already 6 minutes in and 7 people watching, so I do appreciate that everyone that's tuned in. But we will start right now, and actually there is some breaking news, so I will actually we will discuss that first before we get into the trial sort of review. But Champa, breaking news: Taylor May out for the rest of the season with an ACL injury. So I'm sure that you've heard about this, and I mean you're the one who broke it into the chat at first, but yeah, Taylor May ACL injury, got that in the Saints and Penrith game. It's a big blow, isn't it? Especially knowing they have no Charlie Staines there anymore.
Yeah, it really is a massive loss for the Penrith Panthers. I mean, that's their try-scoring machine on the other side of the wing. It's good that they still have To'o, but Taylor, mate, he brings so much to the club, so much explosive energy. He's like, he's a line-breaking machine. He was leading try scorer last season, so they are going to miss a lot of attack. The Penrith Panthers. I am guessing that Tunava is going to be covering that winger position. He'll be
Yeah,
covering for Taylor May. So look, I back Tunava. I think he's a top player. So I think he'll get the job done. However, Taylor May, he's a very huge loss. So a lot of tries that I think the Penrith Panthers would score on that side aren't going to happen with no May. But I hope he does recover very soon. ACL injuries are very serious and they do take a while to recover. So hopefully that doesn't limit his play. He's a very talented player and he has a bright future in the NRL. So look, I hope he recovers fast. And look, as whoever takes whoever covers that winger position, my mind is going to be on Tunava. I think they'll do just fine. But yeah, Talon, man, that's a huge loss for the Panthers. And it's hard, really, because they're going into round one already not having Coruscant and Kikau, and now no May. Like, those are some big losses within the first round. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do start off the season. But look, speedy recovery from May. I hope he pulls through just fine.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, without Kikau and Coruscant, and to add to that now with May, yeah, it's big losses for sure for the back-to-back premiers. Like, look, I guess they'll still be competitive and still a good side, and I think May is replaceable. But yeah, I mean, their depth in the backs is a bit iffy, I guess. But they'll find someone, and like you said, I think whoever plays in that position, which I'm assuming as well, it's Taruva, he'll do a job. He'll do a job. But look. Thought I might just discuss that quickly in case most people didn't hear about the news already. So we will get into the official talk now about our review on the trolls. So, so look, obviously, there we go. There's the banner. Obviously, we will discuss in depth about every club and how they went during the trials. Like I said, in the champ in the green room, we'll talk about our best player for each club during the trials. The best rookie that stood out that maybe not everyone knows, but had a great sort of game or trial for that club. And then we'll talk about the club's best win, worst loss. So it's obviously some clubs didn't even win and some clubs didn't even lose. So we'll just have to go with what was the worst loss out of these two losses or the best win out of these two wins. So basically that's how it works. But Champa, we will start with the first club. So we'll actually start with the Broncos. So the Broncos obviously played two trials as well. Actually, no, three technically, but we'll count two as they play most of their first graders in that other two games. So they did take on Wynnum in that first trial, which was not really featuring much first graders. But then they played the Titans, which was a draw. And then they played, that was at Sunshine Coast as well. And then they took on the Cowboys on Saturday night, where they did win controversially, apparently 20-18. Look, I obviously didn't get to watch it because I was out at Penrith for the World Club Challenge. But yeah, there was something about that Broncos Cowboys game not everyone's happy about. But Champa, I guess you can discuss about that one more. But with the Broncos, bro, what did you make of them during the trials this year?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they look. I think they played in the trials, very very good. And look, I'm backing the Broncos this year to have a top season, and I think that they showed promise in the trials. They had a very competitive game against the Titans, and that's what the Cowboys. It was really down to the wire that match. Look, controversial. Um, I think Brisbane won that fair and square. To be honest, I don't see any controversy in that win. Elliott knocked on near the end of the game, so they took the win. And look, as for the Broncos, I think that this is really going to set up their season. Though I don't see them being any top four threat, I do see them being probably a definite lock in within the top eight. And look, they
Yeah.
knocked off the Cowboys, which is it's still no easy task. And this is the Cowboys side that had Drinkwater, Townsend, Taumalolo, so not an easy team to beat. So look, or to the Brisbane Broncos, I think they're going to have a stellar season. And I think during these two trial games, or three actually, I feel like they were had a pretty solid trial preseason challenge. So yeah, Broncos not too bad.
Yeah, that's a fair wrap, I think. I've got to agree with that. I think the Broncos, in that first one against the Titans, that first trial, I will say it was good their first half and how they started that game. But I think seeing the comeback, that comeback where the Titans came back from, I can't remember what the score was. It was like 20 to nil or something like that. I can't remember. But the Titans came back out of sight for some tries there. And I don't know. The Broncos clocked off that last sort of second half. I mean, yes, I guess that's down to fitness and not playing too much. But I've got to say that was a bit of a disappointment and a bit like of how it ended 2022. But yeah, look, I still think that game against the Cowboys, obviously where they play most of their full strength side against the Cowboys full strength side, obviously they were in that game, so you got to think that's a good thing. But yeah, no, look, I think they should be in for a good year. I had them six, and I had second thoughts about it, and I won't change my tip. Don't worry where I have them, but they are an interesting side, I will say. So we'll see what does happen with them. But Champa, just since the Broncos only had a draw and a win, what would you say was the most impressive result out of them two? Like I know a draw is hard to sort of explain, but out of the draw and win, what do you think was the best?
I'll have to go with the win. Look, because it was against a close to a full strength Cowboys side, and look, like I said, it was down to the wire. It was very close, and these two teams put it in everything. I think both teams played pretty well. I'm gonna say that was their most impressive trial match was their win against the Cowboys. Everyone played great. Cobbo especially played amazing, in my opinion. So yeah, I'll have to say they win against the Cowboys.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you there. I think even though I didn't really get to see the full game, I do think that game where the Cowboys are obviously a stronger outfit compared to Titans, I think that proved that they are competitive. So I do think that's a good sort of start for them. Obviously they are a bit inconsistent. It feels like with letting in tries and stuff, but I think their attack and Reynolds and Cobbo, Walsh, and the hooker position's a mystery, but they are building a good team, and I think that will show across the season. So, yeah, not a bad start there for the Broncos. What would you say was their standout player, standout first grade player that you thought was the best for them? And who would you say, as a rookie, that you may have saw across the 2 weeks they were playing, stood out for you?
For a standout player, I am going to go with Cobbo. I think that match against the Cowboys, he was, I reckon he was superb. Him playing in fullback, I think he played absolutely well. As for a rookie, I had the name in my head. It's one of the forwards that came off the bench. I feel like his runs were pretty solid.
Is it Shalom or Alfred?
I'm pretty sure it's him because
Big hair.
it's yeah. 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 That's it. That's it. I feel like his
Yeah.
runs were absolutely astounding. I feel like he's probably going to be one of the mainstays within this Brisbane side, and I hope Brisbane really develop more with him. So yeah, those are my two players that really stood out for me.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that too. So look, obviously with me, I think my best standout player who was a high profile player, I think for me is Reece Walsh actually. I do think Walsh was one of the best players for that Broncos side the past 2 weeks. Scored a great try in that Titans game and got an even better conversion from the sideline on the stroke of half time, where the ball was going out and then curved back in. So that was pretty impressive. Yeah, Cobo for me is up there as well, but I like what Walsh did bring to the Broncos side, being back there. So yeah, I like Reese. I think it was really good. And then probably for rookie. I was saying the same answer that Shalom Owofu, however you say the last name, but he was actually at the Dragon system, and in the Dragon system, don't know how they managed to let go of someone like him. So that's embarrassing if you ask me for that Dragons pathways or whoever letting go. Yeah, ridiculous how he can debut there. So I'm expecting him to do some big things at Broncos now that he's there. But overall, I think we agree that the Broncos are heading in the right direction. So on to the next club now. We are going to move on to the Rabbitohs. So South Sydney, it's a very interesting one as well because they obviously, in their first trial, they lost to Manly with all their rookies, but we play our rookies as well. But, they were pretty good, I thought, and they had some good standout players in that game as well. Like that young 5'8" was fantastic for them in that Manly Souths game. Someone called Tallis Duncan, who seems pretty good at lock forward. And then there's also a couple of guys like Josiah Karapani, who's a good rookie I've liked as well. So, the Souths in that game weren't bad, but I think Manly just did enough to win. But obviously the Charity Shield on Saturday really showed that full strength side of what they're made of. Because this year, I think most people expect Souths to be competing for a premiership and let alone top four. All at Champa. On South Sydney, what did you make of them across these 2 weeks of the trials?
Yeah, I think South Sydney were, I think they were especially, play pretty well. Although they did lose to you guys in their first trial match, I think they came out and put on a statement against the Dragons in the Charity Shield match. Um,
Yeah.
I think their rookies played very well, even though they did lose in that first match. Most of them were rookies. I do feel like they have a good future within the NRL. And as for their second match against in the Charity Shield, that was just classic Rabbitohs right there. Dominant, strong, and just above all else, just a classy team. Walker, Latrell Mitchell, Damien Cook, of course. They're playing top footy, and a lot of their juniors I feel like play well. Their backline with Tass and Isaac Thompson, I think they'll play absolutely well. And of course the forwards, Cameron Murray, all of them, they all play very well, and they all play their part. And like I said, look, again, I got big raps on the Rabbitohs. They're a top 4 team in my opinion, and yeah, I think these preseason trial matches, I think they played all right. Good win against the Dragons, a huge statement, and probably a preview of what we're going to see from the Rabbitohs this season.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, 100%. So I guess you can't take too much out of that Manly South game to start off with. Like, obviously, full of rookies, and there were some standouts for sure. I mean, it could have gone either way towards the end. Just unfortunate, halfback Jared Sublow missed a kick, so how he missed that from in front, I don't know, but it would have been 30-30 if he got it. But it's all right because it was just a good, I guess, sort of showdown between the rookie sides. But yeah, that Charity Shield match was impressive. Obviously, I didn't get to watch the full game, but yeah, I will eventually when I get time. Between the 2 games, I mean, yes, they lost and they won, but I think out of them 2 games, like with the rookies and the first graders, I guess it's hard because they won and lost, but just to where you think about it all, what side impressed you the most? The South rookies and how they came out and played, or was it just the first grade side, as we expect to be really good?
Look, the South rookies, they did play all right against Manly. I feel like they really did stand up, and they tried their best. But look, if I got to say what team stand up, I have to go with the first grade side. 40 plus against the Dragons. Charity Shield match. It's a big match, and look, they came out there and they played with a purpose. So I got to give it to the first grade side. Yeah, that is probably my standout match for me for the Rabbitohs is that Charity Shield match. They went into that match and look, they weren't gonna they weren't gonna slack off just because of the trial game. That Charity Shield is important to them, and they wanted to retain them with all costs, or they wanted to win it with all costs. So you know what, I'm gonna go with that Charity Shield match.
Yeah, yeah, I think I have to agree. Only because it just shows what South's really made of this year. I think I was impressed with their attack. Like Walker, Latrell, Cook, the rest goes on. It's a great makeup of the team, and I think they'll be very scary in 2023 if they keep all those guys fit in the field. Um, yeah, what was I going to say as well? I think with them, it indicates that they are still a premiership threat because some people have them outside the top four, and I'm like, why they're that low? I mean, they're a top four team out and out, and it's weird how people have that happening, but yeah, it won't happen. Don't worry. But just yeah, I got to agree. In general, that Charity Shield game was good and it was a great win, but for any side to let Jacob Little score is a concern in my opinion. I think they've got to work harder in defence now to stop that from happening again because Jacob Little scoring out of everyone, come on, can't let that happen. But I guess just now, who for Souths, who do you think was their best high profile player, and who do you think was their best rookie that everyone needs to keep their eyes on?
As for high profile player, I am going to go with Cody Walker. Look, that Charity Shield match, he was amazing. He scored a try, good stepping, and I feel like he played his role at 5'8", very 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 good. I'm going to go with Cody Walker. As for rookie player, I'm going to go with Jacob Gagai. Him coming off the
Yeah.
bench and scoring that try for the Rabbitohs, I feel like I feel like this kid's got a bright future. And look, I hope Rabbitohs really do bank on him and they do back him because I can see him playing. I can see him playing wing, or if he wants to move into the center, he's probably he's a he's a player that everyone should keep their eye on. And look, if he does make a crack into the first grade side, or if he plays most of his time in reserve grade, keep an eye for him because he's going to be a big name soon.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that actually. I think Jacob Gagai has been around for a little while actually. I mean, he's still young and he's been around for a little while, but hopefully he gets a crack this time in 2023. But yeah, as for me, I agree. I think Cody Walker was their best standout player as a first grader out there. Like he was exceptional against the Dragons game, let alone that his performance got him as my best player. And rookie, well, I'm gonna go that young 5'8", like I mentioned before, Dion Tialpa, whoever you say the last name. I'm sorry if I got it wrong, but you know who I mean. That young 5'8" who scored a double, I believe, and had a great game when he was on that Manly South game. So I think he's one that will probably take over from Walker in the future, if anything. But yeah, Souths are in for a big year, and I think big things are coming for that club. On to the next club now. We'll move on to the Warriors, and the Warriors actually had a very interesting 2 weeks, I think, with trial matches. Like, I mean, I know you hate to hear it, but big win over the Tigers at Mount Smart in week 1. Then week 2, I mean, just on Sunday there, they had a loss to Melbourne in Christchurch. That's right, Christchurch. And yeah, I mean, two different sides of how the Warriors will be. I mean, the teams weren't that different compared to week 1 and week 2. They still had Murray Martin, and I mean, that game it still had Walker, Barnett, Nick Hoyt all playing. So it's a bit, I don't know. I mean, I guess that displays how the Warriors can be this year and how they are as a club, rocks and diamonds. But Champa, with the Warriors last 2 weeks, what did you make of them as a club?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't miss their match with the Storm. However, from what I heard, the Storm were just too good in that match. And look, I watched that full game the Warriors had against the West Tigers, and yeah, look, they are a team that are showing a bit of promise. However, I'm not fully sold on them just yet. I still feel like there are some improvements that they could make in their side. However, look, I don't think they are going to be easy beats. I think they are going to surprise a lot of teams this year. Maybe upset a few critics. But look, as for the Warriors, the trial games, it showed us what the Warriors are really known for, and that's being a hot and cold team. They come out and they play razzle dazzle footy the first round. Next, they go missing in the next game. So look, I guess that could be different quality of teams. Tigers and Storm aren't really the same in terms of talent. However, you got to turn up each game, and I feel like they should have really turned up against that Storm match. From what I heard, they weren't as good as they were in the Tigers match. And look, I think the Warriors, again, it was just a hot and cold preseason trial game for them.
Yeah.
And look, it's what the Warriors are known for. So, look, I think they had a pretty decent trial game, but there are still room for improvement. And even though they had a very huge win against the Tigers in that first round, it doesn't mean that all their problems are solved. There's still a lot of patches that need to be fixed within the Warriors.
Yeah, no, look, I think that's a pretty much right. I think with the Warriors, that game against Tigers, where Tigers didn't, to be fair, didn't play any of their big names until the Canberra game. You can't take too much out of that. I mean, yes, they did play really well, and I think that just goes to show that they are ready to play at home. They did look like a top side in that game, but I think look, it was like the Manly South game. A lot of rookies playing, a lot of unknowns, apart from about 5 or 6 first graders at best playing for both sides. So, what can you take out of that? Not much. So, I do think that first game was just a luck sort of get type game, but I guess it indicates that they are doing something right. And then that Storm game, yeah, I agree. I think that Storm game was obviously a bit of a reality check to how they are as a club. But they were actually in that game for quite a while. So credit to them for hanging in there. But Storm, yeah, looked a bit too good. Um, so I guess I mean it's an easy answer, of course. So, but out of those two games against the Tigers, where they won by 40, and how they had the other game when they lost to Melbourne 24-6. Look, out of those two sides that played, what more did you take out of, and what side do you think was a bit better? I know Warriors rookie side, or mostly half rookies, half first graders, won convincingly, but in that Storm game, they were in it for about 39 minutes until half time. So, what impressed you the most out of those two sides?
Yeah, look, I am going to go with the obvious choice, and that is that win against the West Tigers because it really showed us the pathways that other Warriors are bringing in. It was a team that had a bit of first grade players, but I think the main standout were the rookies in that Warriors game. I feel like the Warriors they have a good system coming through. Their rookies are looking very good. The talent's all there. It's just it's that they just have to show consistent effort, and they didn't show it against the Storm. Look, but I had to go with the win against us. I feel like the rookies really stood up in that match, and they really showed a purpose that they are ready for first grade. So I'm going to go with that win against the West Tigers.
Yeah, fair call, and I have to agree. I think I think while it's obvious where you probably lean towards, I do think that that game was obviously a good one. I mean, Montoya had a massive game and obviously bashed poor Charlie Staines. But yeah, no, look, it was obviously a win that showed a bit of positivity coming into the season. So I guess you got to take it as how it is. So I will agree with that Tigers and Warriors game. On to their, I guess, best high-profile player and the best first grader that did stand out for them, and their best rookie that you saw and will say that he was the best. Like, how do you think of that? Like, who was your best out of them two?
Yeah, well, for high profile play, it was a toss up really between Charles Nickel Cockstad and Tamarin Martin, but I am going to go with Tamarin Martin. I feel like that's the player that the club is going to build around. Whether he plays in fullback or look, he can play fullback, you can put him in the halves. I feel like he is going to have more of a role in the halves position. So I do think that Tamarin Martin is my standout high profile player. He played very well in that Tigers game. And as for the rookie, it's going to be that young fullback that played against us, Tui Pickett. Pikai, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
yeah,
that's how you say his name.
yep,
I'm
him.
sorry to anyone if I mispronounced that, but man, he was dynamite against the West Tigers. He was
Mm.
stepping, he was making line breaks, and that's really a player that's got a bright future within the Warriors and within the NRL. So those are my two standout players.
Yep, I like it. And as for me, I think while he is a bit more of a rookie than a consistent first grader, I will say Viliami Vailea is my best high profile player for that Warriors side. I guess he was good in that Tigers game, and I think he played against Storm. So look, I guess he didn't make much of an impact if he did play, but I do think that that Tigers game showed me that he is ready for first grade and to play consistently. So We'll have to say him. I would have said Montoya, but Montoya had a shit game against Storm apparently, so I won't go with him. But I think as for my rookie, Tui Picky's up there for me as well. But there is that young back row, and I think maybe Jacko here and Warriors and NRL Fanatics will know him in the live chat.
I think I know who you're
Dimitri,
talking about.
his name is
Yeah,
Dimitri Sifa Luca or Laka.
yeah, man, he was top this trial games. He was a top player.
And I think he's been upgraded to the top 30 for this year or next year. So either way, it's a
Yeah,
big win for them. So look out for him in the future, I reckon. But it does shape up to be an interesting year for the Warriors. Right, onto the fourth club now. We will touch into the Bulldogs. So the Dogs are obviously the new boys in town with all these new players. And again, another rebuild. And we got to see how the second rebuild really went on these two trial matches. Their first one was good against the Raiders, but Raiders didn't play most of their first graders, to be fair. But I think in that game, you could tell that there's a change in their attack and defense. It seemed like a lot of the players were playing well for each other in that game. So I think that was a good first hit out for Serrato and the players. But then just yesterday, it came back to falling against reality, and the Sharks smashed them at Belmore. I know that Sharks played most of their full strength side, and it's the same with the Bulldogs, but maybe it goes to show you at the end, it's different ends of the spectrum when you play against a bunch of rookies and you play against a bunch of first graders in the Sharks. So it does tell you where those sides are at. So yeah, it's a tough one to get rid of the Bulldogs, but Champa, out of them two games, like what did you make of them? Like what did you make of the Bulldogs and just how they came across in those two games?
yeah. I think that Sharks game really did bring the Bulldogs. It humbled the Bulldogs. It brought them back down to reality because
Yeah.
everyone's hyping the Bulldogs, saying that this is their season. That they're making the top eight. They're going to be a threat for the top four, and they showed impressively against the Raiders. But against a Sharks team, a consistent top eight Sharks team, it showed that there's still a long way to go to be that top eight team that's a mainstay within the top eight. Look, they weren't terrible in that Sharks game, but there's so many things that they could improve, and it's mostly defensively. I feel like the defensive was just a bit sloppy. A lot of tries that was scored on the edge that really the wingers should have really covered. Mulatalo was just flying all over the place, as well as Katoa as well. Um, Look, I do feel like the Bulldogs are a top eight team. However, even with guys like Reed, Marnie, Viliami Kikau, Josh Reynolds, you still gotta build that sort of chemistry within the side, and I don't think the Bulldogs are there quite yet. They're on a good way there. They're not there quite yet, but
Yeah, I
look,
agree.
it was decent for the Bulldogs, but there are still things that they need to improve on.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I think with the Dogs, it's like they're not going to improve out of sight like everyone is expecting them to, but they will probably get there in the end. So, but we can't expect it to be all done and improved straight away. But out of their two results against the Raiders, which was a win against mainly rookies, and I guess the Sharks loss was very, very disappointing, but had a bit of a fight back towards the last 20 minutes. Um, what,
Hmm.
what, what side impressed you? Like, I guess it was a really sort of indication about both sides. I mean, it was. I think both sides were both, like first grade players as well. So both of them in those two games against the Raiders and the Sharks was basically first graders. But just to, I guess, see what was a better game. What did you think about them two? What was a better game?
Yeah, the better game would be the Raiders when they picked up the win. However, I'm not discrediting the side that went up against the Sharks. The Sharks, they played most of their top players. They played, Will Kennedy and all those sorts. So it was a tough team to beat. However, look, I think both games, the Bulldogs did show that they have improved a lot within the off season. I do feel like their better game was against the Raiders, but look, I'm not discrediting anything from the Bulldogs. Though there are signs of improvement, I feel like both their games they were still decent, but the better game was obviously against the Raiders where they did pick up the win.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. Look, same here. I think with the Raiders game that showed that they are playing for each other and there's a change in their attack and defense, which was obvious as well in that Sharks game. But I think Sharks are just a bit better. You can tell the difference between Sharks and the Bulldogs teams. So yeah, I agree. That Canberra game was probably their better one. But look, we'll see how they go in round one against us, I guess, when they play that side again for the third time in a row. As for their best high profile player, which is a lot to choose from, and their best rookie that stood out, who would you say was the two there?
High profile player. I probably will go with Kiko. I feel like
Yep.
he was solid in the second row. Some people thought he could have done more to improve, but I feel like he was all right. I feel like he played his part well. As for there's this big forward, like massive forward for the Bulldogs.
Um, Franklin Pello?
Yeah, Franklin Pele. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
How
No,
huge is
he's a
this guy? Are
gun.
you kidding me?
He's a gun, bro.
This-
He's a gun.
he's a massive. I'm pretty sure he came from the Sharks as well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, look, Franklin player has been talked of a lot in reserve grades. They're saying he's one of the biggest players in the NRL. And look,
It's huge.
I feel like he was solid. Though I do feel like there are rooms for improvement for him. I still feel like he played well. So Pele and Kika.
Mm. And interesting about Pele, just quickly as well, is that he's not on the top 30, Dylan, I think. So he's on a
Oh,
development. But I think there's talk about him being actually upgraded to the 30 soon. So trial form must have helped, I think, that with them talks extending. But as for me, I'd say that best main first grader or high profile player probably was Reid Marnie, I think. In those two games he did play against Canberra and the Sharks, he had a big role with all their tries. I think he got a couple of try assists, and he definitely seems to have a different point in attack when he comes on and plays. I think in that Canberra game when he came off, you could tell how different the Dogs were, and they weren't really the same side of attack. So I'll probably say him. But as their rookie, I really like this kid. I think he's got a big future, and that's Jacob Preston. And Jacob Preston's obviously the one with that blonde mohawk, and he came from the Roosters, I think, originally. But yeah, he's a back rower, and he was great against Canberra. I'm not sure how he went against the Sharks, but look, seeing how he is as a player, I think he's got a big future. So I'll go with them two for the Bulldogs. All right, on to the next club. We will touch into the Dolphins now. Now, this is look. While it was a disappointing campaign of trials for the Dolphins, there were a few positives that I guess you can take out of it. Now, both losses, obviously, both losses. Losses to the Cowboys, which was a very actually, as a draw. Sorry, it was a draw. Uh, but they should have won that one. And then the game against the Titans just yesterday was shocking. So I don't know how you can take the Dolphins. I mean, they weren't last, so that's a positive, but they weren't that impressive, I don't think. But Champa, what did you make about what did you make about the Dolphins? A new club in the NRL, weren't fantastic, weren't great, but were decent. What did you think about them?
yeah, look, Wayne Bennett's really got a handful here. He's really got his work cut out for this one. The Dolphins, look, it's just look, welcome to the NRL, basically.
True,
Welcome to
true,
the NRL. That's all I can
true.
say. They took on two Queensland sides, so really pulled their pants down and exposed them. Even though they did drew against the Cowboys, it's a game that they really should have won. Cowboys didn't really play anyone. As with that Titans match, they were just look. You can't really say anything
True.
else. They were just completely blown off the park, and Titans they were near perfect in that match. So
Yeah,
it
true.
was a disappointing trial season because I think out of every team in the trials, the Dolphins were the more anticipated team coming into this preseason challenge because it is the first exposure into the NRL. Fans are seeing what the Dolphins have been working on for the past sat close to a year in terms of development, and this is what they show for it. I mean,
Yeah,
not that
it's not good, is
impressive,
it?
especially against the Titans. Look, to get 40 put on you by the Titans as well. I mean, obviously that's a bad start.
It's
That's
embarrassing.
obviously a bad start. And it doesn't get easier for them because I'm pretty sure that they start the season off against the Roosters. So
Oh
they
dear.
really have their work cut out. Yeah, they have their work cut out for them. But look, at Dolphins, they really should have put in more in these trial games because this was the trial games that really were gonna give their fans the first impression of them, and it wasn't a good one. So Dolphins very disappointing. I say they were probably the worst team within these trials, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree with that. I think they should have been a lot better. They should have showed a bit more, I guess, from a Wayne Bennett team. So I understand that it's a new team and combinations will take time. And obviously, it's not always going to be that exact sort of result where they're going to go off and have a big input, I guess, because they're a new team and you can't expect them to do too much. But yeah, I agree. They were disappointing despite having a draw against the Cowboys, and that loss against the Titans was shocking. But out of them, what should I say? Well, because they're both like technically losses, but the first one was technically a win and loss, but the one against the Titans was a massive loss. What was the most disappointing result? The comeback against the Cowboys or a loss against the Titans?
Most disappointing loss, you said?
Yeah, well, because basically the Cowboys came back and they,
Mm.
should have won that game, but the Titans game was a shocking smashing. So, what would you say was a bit more
Yeah, it's
disappointing?
oh look, it's got to be the Titans one because this is the game where they put most of their first grade players in. It was at KO Stadium, and they were going up against a Titans side that look it really has no promise this year. No one thinks they're going to go well, and look, they really should have put in more in that match, and I think that the Dolphins they should have really how can I say this? They should have just put in more of an effort.
Yeah,
Look,
definitely.
they had Sullivan, Milford, all these players. Bromwich. They had the Bromwiches there. Ray Stone, Phyllis Kafusi. He got binned Kafusi, so that's already a bad start. So the most disappointing one was the Titans because look, if you're getting 40 put on you by the Titans, you really need to have a look at your team roster and your performance right there. So I have to go with the Titans loss.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, the Cowboys' comeback was disappointing, but you can't go past how bad that Titans game was. I think that they should have, Titans aren't expected to do anything great this year, so that is disappointing. And I think they have to be a lot better against Roosters, which is hard to think they will be if they want to be a lot better side. So, yeah, I'll have to agree with that Titans game. Your best high profile player and I guess rookie for them?
Best high profile player. He's starting to be more of a high profile player. I'm going to go with O'Sullivan. Look,
Yeah, good
I think
one.
out of that thrashing against the Titans, he was more of the better player within that side. He stayed structured and look, he really did what he could, and he was really filling in for that half. He was doing well in the half position. And look, as for rookie. I'm going to go with the new boy in the rugby league from Union. I'm going to go with Valence Tefare. I'm pretty sure his name
Yeah,
is.
yeah, he's good.
I feel like he had a really good start in that first game against the Cowboys, and look in the Titans match. I feel like he played his part very well. He's still learning the game. He's still new to the whole game of rugby league, so I think it was really
Yeah,
impressive him making that transition. I think he played all right.
yeah, yeah. That's a good selection as well because I think he's got a big future in the game and he's a big winger, but he's got some skills. So I'm looking forward to seeing
Mm.
how he does go. Tiwara. But as for me, I'd say I agree with the first one. Sean O'Sullivan was their best main first grader, but I'd say their best rookie was Isaiah Katoa. Now, yeah, he wasn't that great against the Cowboys because he made some errors, but I think some of his skill and some of his try assists he did get in that game was impressive. And I think, with all this hype he's got and already playing for the Tonga international side in the World Cup, it's a big achievement at 18 years old. So I do think that maybe him will be the next sort of prodigy, maybe. So I think
Mm.
him and Sullivan are mine to take out the best first grade and best rookie for the Dolphins across the weekend, or weekends. The next team we'll get into now is the Melbourne Storm. So the Storm, new year, different. some different players and big changes, but Bellamy's still the coach. So with how the Storm did go during these last 2 weeks, they obviously had a narrow loss to the Roosters at Geelong there in a high-scoring game, which was featuring a lot of rookies, but some first graders too. And lost Justin Oliver, of course, which we'll get into very soon. But they did have that win against the Warriors just yesterday too. So I think that winning against the Warriors 24-6 was a real indication of what the Storm are about. But what did you make about the Storm champ during the trials?
Yeah, look, they weren't as dominant as they usually were. However, look, they were very close in that loss against the Roosters, and I think against the Warriors, that they played pretty dominant in that match. Even though the Warriors did hang in there for a long. They were strong in that match. I did miss that match, but from what I've heard, they were classic Storm. They were dominant and all that. As for the Roosters, close loss, but then again, it was mostly rookies. I think the Storm were all right, and look, I think this sets up their season. Um, I don't think they're going to be that dominant team that they usually are, where they're fighting for a minor premiership. However, I don't see them dropping all the way out of the eight. I see them in the middle of that top eight position. Now, I don't think the Trials really did display that. So that's my opinion on the Storm. Now, I'm just going to turn my camera off, but I will still be in the live stream. I'm
Yeah,
just
all
going to
good.
fix my internet real quick.
Yeah, I can tell something's up. No, it's all good, bro. Yeah, look, as Chamber was definitely saying there, I think the Storm was still, they were a bit, I guess, inconsistent that first game especially, but the second game they were a bit better because they did show what they could really do as a side, as a whole. But I think with the Storm, it was just about them getting the combinations right, the new sort of signings playing together. Like Tarek Sims was not bad against the Warriors, from what I heard. Elias Katoa was pretty good for that Roosters and Warriors game. Scored a try against his old club too. So I think the Warriors are on the up. The Storm are on the up, but the Warriors are on the up, of course, in that game, despite losing. But with the Storm, yeah, they are expected to be a top 4 team still, despite having a few people or seeing a few people having them low. So they'll still be up in the top 4. They're a dangerous side. They're a competitive club, and they'll definitely be still competitive. Chandler just made it back in time. For the Storm, bro, who would you say was their best first grade player, and who would you say was their best rookie in those 2 weeks?
Their best first grade player, I'd probably go with a safe option and say Jerome Hughes. I feel like he was all right, especially in that match against the Warriors. And as for the rookie, I'm gonna go with that winger Warbrick. I'm pretty sure his name was.
Oh yeah,
Looks solid. He scored a try against the Warriors, so yeah. I think but those are my two standout players. Jerome Hughes still dominant as ever in the Storm, and that Warbrick guy. A winger that I feel like he'll get his break in this season. So yeah, those are my 2 players.
yeah, fair call. As for me, I would have Elias Katoa there as my best first grade player because seeing what he did against the Roosters and the Warriors, I think that goes to show that he is improving and will become one of the next Bellamy experiments to work out as he went to Melbourne. And I think with the rookie, it's one that not many people know, but it's that young fullback Sua Fa'alongo. So I like what he did against the Roosters, and I think he will be a very, I guess, he'll be a player that I'll have debut soon because we haven't had his out for the opening weeks of the season. So I'm expecting him to get a game sometime soon. On to the next club now. We will touch into actually a team that isn't from the NRL, but came to play this pre-season challenge. And it's St. Helens. So it's a team I support in the Super League. It's a team that I'm sure ruined a lot of people's multis, a lot of people's bets because everyone would have had Dragons 13 plus. Everyone would have had Penrith 13 plus, and no one gave Saints a chance, maybe apart from some people. But St. Helens, all the way from England, the best team in the Super League. They came to Australia and they really shut some people up, I thought. So they were very impressive, I've got to say. But Champa, obviously you're not that big on St. Helens, but I don't know what you think about them now. But seeing what you saw, from the last 2 weeks in the trials. What impressed you, and what did you make about them?
They made me eat my words. I'm going to say that
Yeah,
right now. St. Helens shut me up. I look, you know them better than me. And look,
yeah,
I thought, okay, look, them getting a four-peat in the Super League is impressive, but I feel like the competition is different from the Super League to the NRL. They come to the NRL and they pick up a good win against the Dragons and top off one of the best teams we've seen in the past 3 years in the Penrith Panthers. So they are the real deal. I'm going to say this right now. St.
no,
Helens are the real deal. If they were in the NRL, they would be a consistent top side.
I
Um,
agree.
hey, that they were just impressive. My goodness, again in that Penrith match, they were
Mhm.
just structured everywhere. Jack Wellesby, who is this kid? This kid is
Yeah,
amazing.
it's amazing.
He's dynamite. And then look, you got players like Roby. I feel like a legend. Apparently one of the Super League's best of all time. Curtis Sheridan as well. You know, familiar face that I think played very well.
Yep, Siro. Yeah.
Opwadi, Mataltia, Conrad Hurrell. You know, still dominant
Mhm.
even up in the Super League. So look, St. Helens, they really did. They really did shut a lot of people up and said, look, yes, we're from the Super League, but no, we're not an inferior side. We've just beaten one of your best teams in the Penrith Panthers. So look, don't sleep on St. Helens. I'm going to say this right now. Do not sleep on St. Helens. They are the
No,
real deal. I know this now.
yeah, no, and that goes to a lot of people, I think, because a lot of people they did have Penrith smashing them and had Dragons smashing them too, but you can't don't look. The thing is, don't write off the Saints. It's not safe to do that because they are a top side. They are a team that's gonna. They're a team that would be very consistent and a great side in the NRL. They did play in the NRL, so yeah, you can't write off the Saints. No way. But yeah. Look, I think obviously I won't ramble on for too long about them as they're my club, but I think all I'll say is when they played against Dragons and Penrith, I was 99% confident they'll win both games and they would win fairly well. So I think with the St. Helens boys in the club, it just goes to show you that they are a very successful team that will be even better and bigger coming back to England and playing the Super League after that win against Penrith in the World Club Challenge. What would you say was their best result and best win, I guess, against the Dragons and Penrith Panthers?
Oh, I had to go to that win against Penrith Panthers. You know, this was a Penrith side that had all, most of the stars. They still had Luai, To'o, Crichton, uh, Targo. They had everyone there. Cleary as well, obviously one of the best players in the world. So to beat a team like that, and let's be honest, it wasn't that Penrith weren't terrible. They were still good in that match. They were still
Yeah,
very close, and they almost came back in the end. But to able to hold off a comeback Penrith side and to hold on even till even till golden point, that's impressive. Because look, not a lot of NRL teams will do that.
no,
Um, though I do feel like Penrith were vulnerable that game, and a lot of teams could have beaten them. That's not discrediting the St. Helens wins against Penrith. You know, beating Penrith is not an easy task, especially at Penrith, especially with all their first grade players back. So I had to say that win against Penrith Panthers is obviously look. It's going to be the win that's going to be talked about for a long time because no
oh, yeah,
one expected them to win. Everyone doubted them. Everyone thought this was going to be another Penrith marathon. No, St. Helens came with a purpose, and look, they were just more hungry than Penrith. They wanted
they
that
were.
that they wanted that World Cup challenge win. You saw how they celebrated at the end. It's like they won the grand final. It shows how important this game was to them. So that win against Penrith Panthers for me was the better match out of the two.
Yeah, of course, I'll have to agree with that as well because there's a World Club Challenge, and the World Club Challenge otherwise shows so much. It's best to be the best. So you got to take a lot out of that, especially if we won that game. So, and no disrespect to the Dragons, but it's just the truth. You know, the Dragons are a shithole. So it's not like you can take too much out of that game because it was a Saints guaranteed win at that point, or the real Saints, I should say. But yeah, it was a real win either way, and it was a good win. So, um, but yeah, of course, the Panthers game, the World Club Challenge was a bit more of an indication to where they're at. So yeah, gotta say that game. Um, it depends how much you know the names already, but out of I guess the best high profile player like they've got, and the rookie that played and did a good job, who would you say was the two you picked from that?
Look, I'd probably have to go with two high-profile players. The rookies I'm really not familiar with, so I'll probably will have
Yeah,
to go with two
who's good?
high-profile players. One of them obviously is Jack Wilsby. Like this guy is dominant. He's very impressive, and I think NRL teams should really have a look at this kid and offer him a contract. As for the other player that really stood out for me, toss up between Curtis Sirenen and Lewis Dodds. I am going to go Lewis Dodds. Kicking that field goal, winning them the game. What more can you say? It was just the final nail in the coffin. So those are my two impressive players for St. Helens.
Yeah, oh, and that's good. I think that's a good selection to pick from because I agree them two were pretty good as well across the time that they played. So, but for me, I'd say Jack Wellesby as the higher profile player was the standout. Could be classed as a rookie, but he's played enough games to show that he was one of the best. So I've got to say he was great against the Dragons and the Panthers. But James Roby is a very close second. But as for my rookie, I would say now, he didn't play in the Panthers game, but I will say that he will be something big if he does get a bit more games. And that's Jonathan Benison. So not everyone will know him, but he played against the Dragons and he had a good game. So I think the young winger will get a bit more opportunities down the track, hopefully. But that's our wrap on the Saints there. On to the next club, and this is one that Champa will like, as it's obviously his side. It is the Tigers. And the West Tigers had a very 50-50 period during that trial match, 2 weeks of trial matches they did play in. So, yes, big loss against the Warriors, but big win against the Raiders yesterday. So, I don't know where the Tigers really sit actually because they are such an interesting side and I'm expecting them to improve. But just really, I mean, to see how they went against the Raiders and against guys like Wyden, Fogarty, Levi, and Rapana, and all these players, it was impressive at Belmore, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. Like I guess you can say like the Bulldogs and like the Warriors are very hot and cold trials for us. Obviously we didn't travel well against the Warriors. Of course it was most of our rookies playing. Uh, Shows that there still needs to be a lot of improvement within our rookies in terms of chemistry, playing well together. But I do feel like they did do most of them their first ever experience at a first grade feel. So I feel like they did well. But yeah, obviously the Raiders match, I'm very proud of how they performed in that side, especially with we had most of our first grade plays back. And look, above all that, we still didn't play players like Brooks, Coruscant, Papali'i. Look, most of those players didn't even play. Most of our first grade players didn't even play. So it goes to show that.
And unfortunately, Champa just blacked out there. But all good, he should be back. But I guess what he was trying to say there was what I think makes a lot of sense. Oh, there he is. All right, all good. Champa, you all good?
Yeah, sorry, don't know what
That's
happened
right.
there, but as I was saying, most of our look, we don't even have our full side back, and most of our first grade players that did play, I feel like played very well, and even the rookies, as well. Like the likes of Justin Matamua, Fonapolu, Junior Tupo. Yeah, so many players. Look, even our newest signings like Charlie Staines, even though he did have a quiet game in the Warriors one, I feel like he did improve in that Raiders side. Brendan Wakeham, I feel like he's going to be a great utility player for us. And look, I was like Will Smith. Look, I can go on for a long time, but I feel like the Tigers still room for improvement, but goes to show that we are on the right path into improving.
Yeah, and 100%, 100%. I think I like what I saw from the Tigers that game yesterday. I saw some highlights and yeah, a few of the outside backs have a big future. I'll tell you what. Now I'm looking at the chat and there's some big news actually that's just coming out of Nick from Australia has just reported it in the chat. He has said that breaking news: 2 Dragons players involved in a drunk scuffle after the Charity Shield early Sunday morning. Well,
Wow.
dear oh dear.
Jeez.
So
Wow.
it just gets worse for the Dragons. It just gets worse. Um,
Do we have any
yeah, look,
confirmation of who those players are?
not sure actually. Maybe someone can let me know in the chat. But I mean, it gets worse, doesn't it? That's shocking. That is
Yeah,
shocking.
that's not good. That's definitely not good, especially this close to the season. Very not good.
It's just pathetic, honestly. I
Mm.
will say, I will read it after the podcast though. But as for what I think about the Tigers, just quickly, you know, despite that loss against the Warriors being a big one and not being that great, I guess they had some rookies that stood out for me in that game. Like I think Matamua is one that has a big future in front of him. I think he should be a starting lock in my opinion over Hangawi, but we'll see what Sheens does. I do like Waken, even though he was a bit inconsistent in that Warriors game, but the Raiders game was a lot better. So I think, looking at him and how he went, I think that shows that he is decent depth. But I don't know. It's tough because they are such a mixed bag, I guess, and the defense is still a bit of a concern for me. But their attack, it looks really frightening when it's on. Like Dewey was good yesterday in his kicking game. Junior Tupou and Tommy Talau were just fantastic in the outside backs. So I think things are only up for the Tigers. I really do think that they're on the up from something. As for your best high profile player or best first grader and your rookie, who would you say wins out of them two?
Best high profile player. That's a tough one because there's a lot I could choose from. If I had to go with one, I would probably go with David Norfoluma. I feel like
Yeah,
in that Raiders match, he was very, very dominant in that winger position, and he made made a lot of tackle busts. So I'm going to go with David Norfoluma. As for the junior, I'm going to go with the other winger, and that is Junior Tupou, mate. I said, look, I said this in the chat. I think he should get a starting position. Ken Mamala is in doubt for round one, so I feel like Junior Tupou will be a perfect replacement in round one. So those are my two players that stood out for me: David Norfoluma and Junior Tupou.
Yeah, I like it. I like that. And as for me, I'd say their best high profile player. I'd say it was most likely for me Nofaluma as well. But I'll go a bit different here. And I will probably say that, what's his name? Just trying to get my head. Sean Blaw. Sean Blaw. Yeah, Sean Blaw was the
Mm.
one that I think was the best for them. Look, that game yesterday against Canberra showed that his potential is all there, and if he gets it right, well, look, he'll be obviously a consistent first grade player, which he should be by now. But injuries have obviously stopped that. And as for their rookie, a bit left field, but I'm gonna go with Rua Nagata Kia or
Yeah,
I don't know.
the
I may give
hooker.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll give up from there. But Rua, yeah, that young hooker,
yeah.
I think he's got a big future. And I like what I saw from him in that in the games he played. So yeah,
Mm.
I'd say that they're the two for me. Um, all right, that's 8 clubs done, so we've got another 8 to go. So we'll try and speed it up as it just hit the hour mark before. So yeah, we won't be on for here for too much longer, but we'll try and get through the last 8 clubs as quick as possible. So moving on to the next team is the Raiders, and the Raiders had a very interesting period of trials, I think, because the first week they played, they were disappointing against the Dogs. Despite, I mean, they didn't have much rookies, but they were a bit disappointing either way. The way they defended and attacked was very sloppy. But the other game against the Tigers was even worse, I'd say, because they got smashed by Tigers, who, with all due respect, obviously aren't the biggest side, but I mean, to get smashed by that much in the space of 2 weeks was obviously really embarrassing, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, not a lot of promising signs for the Raiders. I look that they snuck into the eight last year, and look, honestly, I don't have big raps for them this year. I feel like they are a team that are on the floor, and I think it did show in those trial matches against the Bulldogs. Although it was rookies, again, they didn't stand up. They didn't stand up as a team, and as against us for the West Tigers, we played good, but when our world beat is right as a team, Rays really should have with even with players like Levi, Whiten, Rafana, they really should have stood up as a side, and it was disappointing to see that happen. So Raiders, yeah, a team that doesn't that didn't show a lot of promise heading into this season. So yeah, not too impressive from Canberra. Not at all.
No, not at all. No, I agree. Like, they should have been a lot better with who they played. I mean, they had Wyden and Fogarty as their halves yesterday, and I know they had no Savage, who was a big blow to lose in that Dogs game, but I mean, outside of Savage and losing Rapana to suspension, I don't know. I think Canberra might be in for a tough start to this season after what I've seen in trial form. I know
Mm.
that's only trials and you can't take too much out of it, but really, they don't look that good, eh? They don't look that good. So we'll see how they go around one against the Cowboys, though, which is a tough task in Townsville. But to go on to their best game and or best worst or no worst loss I should say worst loss because they didn't win the game. What would you say was the worst and most disappointing loss out of the Bulldogs game and the Tigers game?
I have got to say the Tigers game because this is a game that they had players like Whiten, Levi, they had all those players, and they still couldn't show up and show any improvement from the week before against the Bulldogs. Yeah, look, they were very sloppy. Defense was non-existent, and look for North Luma to run through most of their team on that edge. It's just not too good from the Canberra Raiders. So I had to go with that loss against the Tigers. Very disappointing.
Yeah, no, I think the Dogs one was equally as bad as the Tigers one, but yeah, I agree because there were more first graders playing for Canberra in that game, and I think yeah, I don't know what happened. They really struggled towards the end of that game. So whatever is going to happen with Canberra this year, I don't know. But off trial form, it's not good at all. So I have to say that game as well. Your best high profile player for them and their best rookie.
Best high profile player. There not really is a lot that stood out for me, but if I had to choose one, probably have to go with I would say Rapana, even though he wasn't that impressive against the Tigers. Out of most of them, I still feel like he was the one that probably put in more of the effort. So I'm going to go Rapana. As for rookie, I'm going to say Trey Mooney. I've had big raps on this kid for a while, and I feel like he is the future for the Canberra Raiders. So those are my two players that really stood out for me.
Yep, yep. And as for me, I'd say their best first grade type player would have to be probably Jack White because I think he was the better player during that Tigers game. But I think with I mean, yeah, I mean, he was okay, but not nothing amazing. But I'd say probably him and their rookie. I would pick Ricky Stewart's son, and that's Jed Stewart. And
Mm.
he only played in that Dogs game, but he was pretty good, and he's a tall winger. So I think he's got a bit of future in front of him if he does get a game sometime soon, first grade. So that's the Raiders there. As for the next club now, which was, oh man, they're all drama at the moment, but we will touch on to the Dragons now. And the Dragons, yeah, a club that is going down fast and is obviously going in a really bad phase at the moment. But the Dragons, how they went in the past 2 weeks, what did you think about them? Like, honestly, what did you think about them?
Nah, it just gets bad for worse. I don't know how much lower the Dragons can go. I mean, very poor against St. Helens, and even worse against the Rabbitohs. And now with the news that came out that apparently there was a scuffle between two Dragons players this close to the season. Oh, jeez, it does not look good for them, and there's a lot of improvement that needs to happen within that club because they are favourites for winning spoon in my opinion. Um,
100%.
Not a lot of impressing signs for them. I can't even think of of good plays that came out of that side because look, they were just shit. They were so terrible. It was hard to watch that Rabbitohs game because Rabbitohs it was boys against men. Even though I will give it to the Dragons, they did score 20 plus points against the Rabbitohs. Still no impressive feat where their defense was still shocking. So Dragons were not impressive at all.
No, no way, no way. They were awful. And I think things will get even worse in the regular season too. Don't you worry. I just think they're not on the up. There's no positivity there. They're going to struggle big time, I reckon. So I guess with both losses to the St. Helens and the Rabbitohs, which one was more disappointing?
Um, a lot of look. I think yeah. I'll just go. I'll go with the Rabbitohs one. Um,
Yeah.
because yeah, it was the Charity Shield. It's an important match, an important annual match that happens between these two clubs regularly, and they came out and they put on a performance as good as dog shit. So yeah, I have to say that was the more disappointing loss for them was the Charity Shield match against the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, I have to say that as well because yeah, I mean they scored a couple of points towards the end, but yeah, really they played most of their first grade team. I think that indicates how they are really as a club as a whole. So we'll say that game was their worst as well. Best first grade player and best rookie for them.
Look, best first grade player, I'll probably have to go with Ben Hunt. Consistently being one of the best, even in a shit side. As for rookie, geez, you wouldn't consider someone like Sullivan a rookie, would you? Or would you
Yeah,
consider
I
more of a high
probably
profile?
would. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll probably go Sullivan. Yeah, he was quite impressive against the Rabbitohs, but nothing much to say because I look out of that Rabbitohs side, Ben Hunt was probably the best out of the beaten team in my opinion. So those are my thoughts right there.
yeah, yeah. Look, I'd say it's a fair call with their best player. First grade player. I mean, Ben Hunt's the obvious option. So I'll probably say Ben Hunt was their best because he's always is the best. No one else stands out besides him. And their rookie, I mean, they've got too much rookies actually, which is disappointing. But I might go that young Daniel Russell, who's a PNG representative, I believe. I might just go
Yes,
him.
yeah.
There's some good things about him, so I'd say maybe him as a rookie would be my pick. But that's Dragons
Mm.
right there. Not much to really look forward to for them. As for the next club, we will touch into the Knights now. So the Newcastle Knights. I mean, if we go from bad to worse, it's just how it really was for the Knights during the trials. Um, Shocking performance against the Sharks and shocking performance against the Eels at Gosford. Um, I don't know. There's something not right about the Knights. I just think that they are still a long way off from being that club that will gel and become a powerhouse. But yeah, they are not really showing a whole lot, are they?
Yeah, it's look. I didn't. I've never had high hopes for the Knights this year. I did tip them to be wooden spoons, and look, they came out in their matches, especially that one recently against Parramatta. Not a lot of high hopes for them. This does look like it's going to be another quiet season for them. Players like Jackson Hastings, however, he stood up in that match against the Sharks, and look, Knights did come back close in that match. However, they were still beaten. As for Parramatta, simply outplayed, honestly. But players like their newest signings, Hastings, Marju, especially Marju, he was incredible on the wing.
Oh yeah.
Um, I look, I think the biggest issue is going to be Callum Ponga. Is the 5'8" position really his position?
That's the
Is it
one.
really? You don't put, but then the question comes up: if he goes back to fullback, who covers that 5'8" position? Is it going to be someone like Crosslands? Is it going to be Gamble? Who knows? It's a lot of questions are thrown at the Knights, and I don't think they're coming up with the answers. And it did show against both their losses in the trials match.
Yeah, it did. It did. And I think with Ponga, in regards to Ponga, yeah, look, I don't think he's a 5'8". Obviously, I think he's a fullback. A lot of injuries, of course. And I mean, that's not good because he's a big part of that Queensland team and a big part of the Knights team, as it's been proven already. But yeah, look, I think without him, they are a bit stuffed. But they looked worse when he played against the Eels. So
Mm,
really, 5'8" is not his position, I don't think. Unless something changes, I can't see it working going forward.
yeah.
So with the losses against the Sharks, which was probably a good comeback towards the end despite losing, and obviously that game against the Eels was pretty bad. What would you say was the most disappointing loss?
Um. Well, the Sharks game, they did come back in that game, and they almost got the win. I'm going to say the disappointing loss was against Parramatta. This was really a game where they could have really, turned the corner from that Sharks loss and really put in a good statement against the top side. But yeah, the answers just weren't there, and they were just really beaten bad. I wouldn't
Yeah,
say too bad, but just outplayed by Parramatta. So that was that was their most disappointing loss was against the Parramatta Eels.
yeah, yeah. And look, I don't want to keep agreeing, but probably with this one I have to because I think with the Eagles
Mm.
game that just goes to show you that with Ponga and how they lined up with most of the first graders in that game, it just it just shows that things are still in a process. Not everything's gonna come off the bat and be amazing straight away. So yeah, I'd say that's probably their worst loss out of those two games. Um, best first grade player and probably their best rookie in your opinion.
Best first grade player, I'll probably have to go with Greg Marju. I think his runs against Parramatta were very good. You know, he made some good meters, and look, he's one player that the Knights can really look out for. As for rookies, not a lot of rookies stood up for me, but Jack Johns maybe? Would you consider him a rookie? I think he played all
Yeah,
right.
yes, to some extent, yeah.
Yeah, he look, not a lot of rookies stood up for me against the Knights, but if I had to throw a name out there, probably Jack Jones. But Greg Marju, as my high profile player, he's someone that stood out. And look, I would have gave it to Hastings, but I feel like it would have been an obvious pick. Hastings, I don't feel like he was impressive against the Parramatta Eels. Marju definitely was.
Yeah, yeah. And as for me, their best first grader was actually the new recruit, Lachlan Miller. I think Lachlan Miller has made an early impression to how he's been playing so far. I think with Miller, he's like going to be that player that will break out this year and probably play a bit more games and did at the Sharks and show what he's really got. So he might be one of the only few shining lights of the Knights this year, if anything. And as my rookie, they haven't got too many rookies actually. I agree when you did say a couple of weeks ago that the rookies aren't that good because they really aren't. But maybe the only one I would probably pick I think he did play, but it's a young Tavita Taloy, young forward. I think
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah.
yeah, I think he's the only one that might get some sort of credit to me. So yeah, I think he was their best rookie coming up, but Knights. I don't know, not all there. I don't think. All right, on to the next club. It's the Cowboys, and the Cowboys did enjoy a draw the first week, but they didn't have the best result against the Broncos, despite losing by 2, which would hurt. So I guess the question is with the Cowboys is that, you know, what kind of style will they be this year? Now I know everyone knows my thoughts on this year, and look, obviously I don't need to go through it furthermore as I, already gave my probably thoughts on them in my later prediction. But the Cowboys, I don't know. A lot of experience, but a lot of rookies as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they maintain a balance. But Champa, the Cowboys, what did you make about them in the 2 weeks of trials, in your opinion?
Very, very close games between the Titans and the Broncos. Razor Finn lost against the Broncos, but look, I look. It's hard to say because I don't want to say that the Cowboys are on the decline. Again, trials don't really set up everything, but it does speak volumes about how their off season's been. Um, of course, they played a lot of the rookies in that Titans match, Dolphins match. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, um, and as for the Broncos, yeah, look, uh, Broncos were just very impressive in that game. And even though Cowboys did play most of their first grade players, I still feel like there are still a lot of room for improvement for the Cowboys. But it was a decent trials in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I think Cowboys are a club that will definitely be one to watch this year for sure. If they get things right. But as for their, I guess, most disappointing, I guess, result in the draw and the loss they had against Broncos. What would you say was the one that maybe wasn't the best result out of them two?
Maybe that Broncos loss because this was look. It was a team that had Talmalolo, Drinkwater, all those players. And Brisbane, even though they didn't have most of their first grade players, it's still a race. I still feel like they should have won that match, and they were very close to the end. So I'm going to say that loss against Brisbane was their most disappointing one.
Yep, yep. Look, probably they're going against the Cowboys, or or one against the Broncos, my bad, was probably the one that would hurt the most. But I'd say the Cowboys and Dolphins game was the one that probably was a bit disappointing, only because they should have been a lot better. But yeah, no, I'd say that they have to probably be a bit better in the real season ahead. So probably will say that game as well. On to, I guess, their best high profile player and best rookie. Who would you say is the one for them?
Best high profile player, bit of an obvious pick. I might probably have to go with Valen. Yeah, I'll go Holmes. He was impressive. As for their
Yeah.
rookie, not a lot of rookies stood out for me actually, but if I had to choose one, I think that number 19 that played for played against Brisbane, Riley Price.
Oh, Riley Price, yeah,
Yeah,
forward, yeah.
Riley Price. Yeah, I he stood out for me. I feel like he was all right in that match. So yeah, those are my two players.
Yeah, and as for me, I'd say for the high profile player, I might just go with someone like Murray Talangi. I think maybe him as a player was pretty good in those trial games, and I think he's a player that is expected to get better. So maybe him. And as for their rookie, I will go that young like Tian Mosadreki, that winger. I think he's
Mm.
someone with a big future. So seeing how he went in trials, I think he's one to look out for. So that's the Cowboys there. Look, we're not far, everyone. I'm sorry how it went over time. It wasn't the plan, but we'll try and get through these last couple of teams as much as possible. I think we've only got about 5 or 6 to go, so not too far.
Almost there.
Onto the Sharks, and the Sharks were, I guess, a pretty impressive team across the trials because one, they beat the Knights despite nearly losing it in the comeback. And then they did beat the Bulldogs just yesterday in week 2, which was a big win at Belmore, which was impressive. But the Sharks, bro, what did you make about them in the last 2 weeks of trials?
Yeah, very impressive. I think the Sharks, their rookie stood up, and as well as their first grade players in that second match against the Bulldogs. So I think it's what everyone expected from the Sharks, and that's to show some dominance. And I think that's what the Sharks showed. So look, very impressive between these two trials. They hung on against the Knights, and they had a very convincing win against Bulldogs. So yeah, not too bad from the Sharks.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, On to, I guess, out of the 2 results against the Knights, which was a win, and same with the Dogs, which was a win. What would you say was the most impressive win, and what win do you take more out of?
I'm gonna say that win against the Knights. They managed to hold off a comeback, and most of that team were rookies, and to hang on like that, I feel like it was very impressive. So I'm gonna go with that win against the Knights.
Yeah. I'd say that probably the Dogs one was a big one, only because the Knights, the Knights one obviously was an expected win, I thought, but yeah, that was impressive as well. But I think how big the win was against the Dogs probably showed that they are where they are as a side of Hines playing in Moylan. So yeah, I think that's a big result there. Who would you say was their best high profile player and best rookie for the Sharks?
Best high profile player. I feel like Will Kennedy was very impressive against the Bulldogs. That try save he made was quite impressive.
Unreal,
So yeah,
unreal.
I'm gonna go with Will Kennedy. Rookie, I'm gonna go with Nifahi Peru.
Oh yeah.
Young halfback coming through, and look, his kicking game is pretty good. So I'm gonna give it to him. Young Peru.
Yeah, nice. Uh, as for me, my best first grade player, probably from them, I might just go Nico Hines because I think Nico Hines' game against the Dogs was something that proved that he is someone to, I guess, hope or probably will be dangerous yet again this year after his daily M season last year. So I think the form that he carried into last year should be into this year as well, hopefully. And as for the rookie, yeah, I like that young Niwai Peru kid as well. I think he's a young half with a lot of potential. So probably we'll have to say him. He's the future of the Sharks. If anything, I think he's got a big future in front of him, and just needs first grade games, I guess, to see where he's really at. But yeah, he had a good
Mm,
trial match game against the Knights in the first week. But the Sharks, what happens to them this year is a mystery, but they should be good yet again. We'll see anyway. Okay, on to the Eels now. And Parramatta obviously had a mixed bag, I guess, as well in trials. had a loss in week 1 against the Panthers, and also had a win against Knights, who Knights are dreadful anyway, but still, it was a win. So you got to take it as it is. But Hillsborough, what did you make about them during trials?
Yeah, not too bad. Not a good, not a good start against the Panthers, but they went off and they picked up a good win against the Knights. So I think they were very impressive. I think a good hopes for them for this season, and yeah, not much to say right here other than their first grade team was impressive, and yeah, I think it was a good showing from the Parramatta Eels. Not too shabby.
Yeah, yeah. And I think with Parramatta, I think it's just a matter of how they really are in the real season, where a lot of changes have happened. So I guess it's just about how they approach the real season with all these changes and stuff. But yeah,
Mm.
with both results resulting in a loss against the Panthers with full rookies as well, and I guess also with that win against the Knights was a big one. What would you say was, I guess, the game that probably, I know it's a win or loss, but what game did you take a bit more out of, the rookies game or the win against the Knights with first graders?
Look, I'm going to give it to the rookies game because I don't. I think the Knights were woeful in that game, so I'm going to give it to the
Yeah,
rookies. Though they did lose, they did show some sort of the rookies coming through did show some sort of promise, even against look because the Penrith rookies everyone talks them up and it's look they won what four of their they won like three of their
something.
junior
Yeah, crazy.
competitions something like that. So yeah, to show that sort of performance against the Penrith Panthers, it's not too bad. So I'm going to give that Penrith love despite them losing. I still feel like that was a more impressive showing from them because look, anyone can beat the Knights, especially on that day.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I think that game was a loss, but it was a game that probably indicated where some of the rookies are at. So that was a nice sort of game to see how they did go with the rookies. But look, I'll just say that game against the Knights was a good one, the best one. I just think because, with Moses Brown playing, I mean, a lot of expectation on them to perform this year, despite some big changes happening around the team. I think that game was the one that I'd probably take the most out of. I mean, the way they played that one and won it. So we'll say that one, but yeah. Either way, it's close with who you can pick or take a bit more out of in those games. As for their best first round player and rookie, who would you say was the best for them?
Best first grade player. There's quite some to choose from. Paulo played pretty good, even Gutherson. Honestly, I might go with Mitchell Moses. The question's still up whether he's going to stay or go, but I feel like he pulled all those rumors out of his head and he played well against the Knights. So I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Mitchell Moses. As for rookie, um, I might go with that winger, Matt Komalofe.
Oh yeah,
Um, I look, he's quite, he's a winger with some size, and I think he's got some promise. I don't know if he's in the top 30, but he's a winger that has a lot of promise. So yeah, those are my two players.
yeah. Oh, that's not bad. First grader, we'll say Dylan Brown. I think Dylan Brown's control and he's lived up to that big re-signing so far. Just needs to keep it up going forward now. But that game against Knights was showing how good he really is. So I'd say Brown was the best first grade player. As for rookie, there is that young forward that a lot of people have talked up about. His name's Tony Mata'ali. Tony Mata'ali, I think it is. He's a front rower,
Mm.
and yeah, no, I like how he plays, and I think he has a big future in front of him. So we'll go with him as a rookie for Eagles as the best. But yeah, Parramatta, interesting year coming. All right, on to the next team now, and it's my boys. And we finally got to them around the end, but it's Manly. And Manly, I won't go on for too long about them because I can really talk about them for quite a long time because of how good we were during the preseason challenge. But yeah, Manly obviously had a win against the Rabbitohs in the week 1 of trials, and week 2 they had that win against the Roosters where not many people expected us to beat a team with Tedesco, Tupou, um, I mean, basically most of their full strength team. Like, what did you make of us in the trials?
Yeah, Manly, very impressive, very impressive. It goes to show they don't need Tom Trbojevic. Finally,
No,
they're showing some improvement even without Tom Trbojevic. Yeah, look, Manly have really changed my opinion of how I'm going to see them this season because I didn't honestly I didn't have Manly in the top eight. I think after these two preseason trials, it might change my opinion. I might have a different thought on the Manly Seagulls, especially against that Roosters match. They hung on at the end, and they were very impressive. A lot of players, Koloa, Tuipulotu, um, a lot of players in that side were very impressive. And yeah, a high science for Manly. I think they're on the up.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it's good now you change your opinion on us because I do think that some people may do that as well after the trial after the trials, but who knows? I mean, it's a trial, so we can't take I guess a whole lot out of it, but it's a good start, I think. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a good indication to see where we're at, and I think it's a all right start to the year. Out of both wins against Rabbitohs and Roosters, which one was the best in your opinion?
I'm gonna say that Roosters one. They hung on at the end, and man, they were just so impressive, even against a team that had Tedesco and all their players. So I think that that win against the Roosters was very impressive.
Yeah, and I probably have to agree as well because most of our first graders played, and so the Roosters as well, their first graders. So
Mm.
I will say that was the best game for us. But as for the best first grade player and best rookie, like I guess there's a lot of options to choose from. But once Champ is back, I will ask him that question: who was the best first grade and best rookie? So in the meantime, I might just go with mine really quickly. I'd say first grader, probably Kelma Tuilagi from the Tigers. Impressed a lot and really showed what he's all about. If he gets it right, he'll be fitting right in with us. I have no doubt about it. And as for rookie, I'm going to say young Gordon Chen Kun Tong. I think Chen Kun Tong is a hooker that might replace Croker in the near future, but we'll see anyway. But yeah, I think Tuilagi and Chen Kun Tong are my picks. Champa, who would your best first grade player and rookie be for Manly?
Yeah, I have to say for first grade player, I'm gonna have to go with Kolowa. Man, he was impressive against the Roosters,
Yeah.
and especially that line break he made. You know, he put in that hot take saying Kolowa could be Dally M Center of the Year. I think after
Mm.
that performance, he's up there. He's getting up there. And as for rookie, definitely Chan Kum Tong. Man, he was impressive in hooker. Let me tell you this right now. I if there's a bold call going around that Chan Kum Tong could be starting hooker, man, I think he can get that position. Honestly, very
Mm.
impressive. So yeah, those are my two players.
He's not big either, so but he's definitely shown that
Mm.
he's got a little bit of potential about him. So yeah, I like the call of Chen Kung Tong. Okay, and on to the next side now. It's a team that is not the best, but not the worst. It is the Titans, and obviously the Titans are a club that is interesting because there's a lot of changes there too. Foreign variables going there, which I expect to be big signings that do change the club. But the Titans, after what you saw the past 2 weeks from them, what do you make about them?
Look, the Titans actually had quite an impressive trial season. Um, they had they drew against the Brisbane Broncos. Very close game, and look, and they were very good against the Dolphins. I guess you could say the Dolphins were lackluster in terms of performance, but you can't discredit what the Titans showed against the Dolphins. Their structure was amazing. Um, Kieran Foran, my goodness, the experience
Yeah.
really showed there. He linked up very well with Tanner Boyd, and I was very impressed. Brimston as well, he was great as well. Uh, yeah, a lot of impressive performances from the Titans. So look, not too bad from them. Honestly, this was a very good preseason trial for them.
Yeah, it was. And whether you dislike them or like them, I think it goes to show that they are improving. They have got something about them this year that could be something that could determine the club they are. So yeah, I agree. It was a good troll preseason for them. Out of the first game against the Broncos, which was a draw, And out of the win against the Dolphins, what would you say was the most impressive result?
Yeah, I had to go definitely obvious one. The Dolphins. It's just I watched that game and the structure for the Titans. They were just so good. I close to say near perfect. I mean, not a lot of people are going to like me talking up the Titans that much, but you just can't ignore how good they were against the Dolphins. Dolphins had no answer for them. So yeah, definitely the Dolphins. The Dolphins match for me.
Yeah, and I like to say I agree on that one too. I think that game showed with Form and Verrills playing for the first time, and mainly the first grade side, it shows that there is something building there. So I think that Dolphins game was big and impressive. So I'll go with that one too. Your best high-profile player and rookie for the Titans?
Best high five player, definitely Kieran Foran. The experience really showed, especially in that Dolphins match. And for rookie, I'm gonna have to go with Khan Pereira. I'm pretty sure his name is.
Oh yeah,
Four
good one.
tries against the Dolphins, especially that cut up ball he got from Foran. Very
Yeah.
impressive. So those are my two players.
Yeah, I like that. I like those selections. First grade player for me, I think Tino gets one for me. I think Tino was really good against the Dolphins yesterday. I think him as a player will get even better and will keep on showing the potential he does have. And rookie, well, he features in the fun now and he's there for a reason. Alfania Khan Pereira, I think his game yesterday was freakish, and he'll be pushing for a first grade spot. I have no doubt about that. But the Titans, interesting year ahead for them, I think, as well. Okay, on to the next club now. The Roosters, the Chooks. Two interesting games, and I mean, interesting but odd because that Storm game was obviously a weird one as a lot of rookies played, but it was high scoring, so defense and attack was mixed, but still one which was good. And then the Manly one was disappointing. I really think that was disappointing. I mean, yeah, a troll and obviously blow the cobwebs out, but yeah, with Tedesco and a few others playing, it wasn't the best result. But the Roosters, the past 2 weeks, what did you make about them?
Yeah, look, I watched the highlights for the Storm Roosters one, and look, it wasn't that impressive. Brendan Smith didn't really have the best debut, in my opinion. As for the Manly match, uh, again, another one that just yeah, they just went quiet. They had some sort of resurgence, some sort of comeback at the end, but Manly were just all over and they had all the answers. Even though they did win against that in that Storm match, I feel like they still weren't that impressive in my opinion, even though it was a bunch of rookies. But yeah, look, not the Rooster side we used to seeing, but then again, I feel like they are going to be different coming into the main season. So yeah, not a lot to take out of these trial games.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think they were a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, blow the cobwebs out, of course, because I think some of their first graders were a bit rusty. But yeah, I've no doubt they'll be a lot better in the real season. Out of a game against the what's it called, the Storm, and the game and the loss against Manly, what would you say was the one you probably take the most out of and probably go, okay, this is the game that I think there's something building or something that needs to improve on? Like, what game stands out to you the most?
I'm gonna go with that Manly match because they did find some sort of resurgence at the end. I can't really take much out of that Storm match as it was a bunch of rookies. The
Yeah,
first grade team is really the main focus for this season. Everyone's going to be focusing on players like Walker, Tedesco, Radley. So I'm going to take that Manly match. However, still not that impressive in my opinion.
yeah, fair enough. And yeah, I think that game against the Storm probably was the better game because they won obviously, and I think a lot of the rookies were really good, and it shows that they do have some rookies, despite people saying they don't. But the game against Manly was disappointing, and I think it's just about getting the timing right about when they do come good against stuff. So it's all good. They'll be all right for the main season ahead. But I've just picked that game against the Storm. Um, as for the best high profile player rookie, who would you say gets the two for that?
Best high profile player. What to choose from? I would go Radley. No, he wasn't that. My opinion wasn't that impressive against Manly. I think I have to go with the obvious pick, and that's Tedesco, and he's always just the best even in a beaten team. So I'm going to go with Tedesco. As a rookie, I'm going to go with a young winger. I think it's Tuipulotu Katoa. I'm pretty sure his
Oh
name
yeah,
is.
him. Yeah,
He
he's
wasn't
good.
he was impressive against the Storm, and I think he's got a bright future. So yeah, those are my two players.
Yep. And as for me, I would say the best first grader was well, I was going to say Brandon Smith, but I don't think he was the best because he did have some errors in him. But I would say probably just go Daniel Tupou because he's consistent, and I think he was one of the better players in that game
Mm.
against Manly because his defense was still sticking in there and still goes to show you that he still got it. So I'd say Tupou was the best for me. As for rookie, I'll go with Matt King's son, and he's a young fullback. His name's Ethan King, and I never knew him before, but seeing how he
Mm.
went against Storm and Manly, something tells me that there's potential in him to be something good. So I might just go with Ethan King there as well. But I'm just
Mm.
trying to think because there's 17 clubs we've done now, and I think it's the last one. I don't know if I'm missing anyone. I mean, I'll have a look after, but
Panthers.
Panthers, yeah. Well, I think that's it. So I think that's all clubs there done. But last club, the Panthers. So back to back premiers are lucky last, and seeing how they did go, yeah, nothing great, but they'll be fine for regular season. Everyone's saying that they'll go shit now because of that St Helens game, but look, they'll be fine in reality. But what do you make of the Panthers and the Eagles game where they played all rookies and the World Club Challenge? Like, what do you think of how they went the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, look, as for rookies, they really showed really good potential. Um, yeah, the Eels match very dominant. As for the St Helens match, close, but yeah, just outplayed, especially in the first half. St Helens were all over them, and it quite honestly set up the whole match. They did find some sort of comeback within the end, but they couldn't pull all the way through. So not bad from the Panthers. Obviously we're gonna see something totally different in the main season, but yeah, not what a lot of people expected from them.
True, true. I think the rookies were that week against the Eels were just showing how good their systems are, and I think that game just proved that they are still a club with full of rookies to play and choose from, and yeah, they've got the best system in the comp of producing talent. So yeah, we'll have to say that one. As a game that probably stands out a bit, the World Cup Challenge was obviously one that was disappointing to lose, but they were still pretty good despite losing by 1 point. But out of those two games, what would you say was one you take the most out of?
I am going to say that win against Parramatta, their rookies really did stand up. And look, I think it goes to show that they do have the best rookies in the whole competition. So yeah, I had to go with that win against Parramatta.
Yep, yep, and I'd probably say the same. Even though that they were a bit tested for the first time as a real big club like St Helens, I still think that the rookies, I guess, were just the show the spotlight, and they had the spotlight on them to show how good their systems are. So probably what impressed me was the rookies. So I'll go with that one as well. As for the
Don't know what's
what
probably
happened
happened.
there.
Probably wins that.
Um,
Oh, he's there.
yeah,
Sweet. You
yeah.
there,
Oh,
bro?
sorry, all good. But yeah, as for the best high-profile player and rookie for Penrith, who would you say was that?
High profile player, I had to go with Crichton. I feel like he was impressive against in fullback. And yeah, that is going to be his position, even going to the Bulldogs. So I'm going to say Crichton. As for rookie, it's going to be the player that was coming off the bench in the Parramatta match. His name was Connor Mason. He was
Oh,
he was quite impressive in for me, and yeah, I think he's got a bright future within the Penrith Panthers.
yeah, no, I like that. And as for me, I'd probably say Brian Toto. Just going to go with him because he was one of the better players in that St Helens game. I think he still backed up his good form that he could play with. So he did get tested a couple of times, but he played pretty well. So I'll go with him as the best high-profile player and best rookie. It's one that I only just knew a couple of days ago and got an idea on who he was. But his name's Luke Somenson, and he's a hooker and or Simonson, how you say the last name.
Mm.
But yeah, he has a future, I think, and I guess if Mitchell Kenny doesn't work going forward or Sonny Luke, they'll definitely give him a call up and give him a go at hooker. But yeah, no, Panthers should be still competitive either way. But everyone, that finally wraps up the Ankle Breaker podcast episode 49. Now, I'm sorry to, well, Champ, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry to everyone how this went over time. Like, it wasn't ideal. I was hoping to keep it under 50 minutes at least, but look, I will manage time better down the track. But bro, it was good to review the whole. It was good to review the whole trial matches for 2023. Hopefully next year's even better. And again, thank you for sticking around and reviewing them with me. So thank you again.
Always, mate. We got through it, and hey, it was a great live stream. We always get one of these long ones, and I had fun all the way. So thanks for having me on, bro.
Yeah, no worries. And it was a good show, I thought. Big 50 next week. So try and make that a better episode and a even bigger one because this was good, but it's going to get even better next week. I can guarantee that. But everyone, thank you for watching the podcast yet again, episode 49. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please go and check out White Champa. Like he did say at the start of the podcast, he's got a big segment coming up soon on his channel. A lot of things will be different there, I assume. So please stay tuned for that. But look, other than that, good show, and bring on the NRL because there's only 2 weeks away from the regular season from starting, so we're not too far now. But everyone, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. So thanks, guys. Cheers.